Yep.
So I don't know. I see where they're coming from. They want to have this diversity in dungeons, right? To have some people being able to
Yeah.
tackle
Sure.
something and others not. But in a bug world, you don't have the luxury of choosing your comp, right? You're standing in queue, as I said, you're standing in queue for like 20 minutes. You're just praying to
Yeah.
find people, man. It's not like,
Yeah.
oh, I can pick out of this people. You're praying to find somebody who is seems on paper competent enough to play in your key. And they're probably not gonna be the class that you want, right? If you're
Yep.
handy picking the classes as well, you're probably going to spend an hour and a half in queue and you still might
Yep.
not get it.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
you end up playing with this group, which you work very hard to get as a pug, right? Together, you go into the dungeon and all of a sudden you're presented with a problem and you don't have the solution because the solution was 15 minutes back when you were making your comp and it
Yep.
was like pick this talent or pick this class, but you didn't have that luxury. So now you're standing there, you're faced with a problem, and there's no solution. Like
Yeah.
this is just not fair. This is just not fair. And this goes back to us saying maybe they should just put some options, some optional talents in the beginning of the dungeon,
Yeah.
so you have
Yeah.
solutions to those problems. Because I see if you're organized group and you're punished because you played wrong, because
Yeah.
in organized group maybe you have options to change your characters. But if you're pugging, you probably have one character, maybe you have one oath, etc. But you don't have options, right? And all of a
Yep.
sudden you have this wall in front of you that nobody can solve. So
Yep.
I think that mandatory dispels is something that shouldn't be there specifically in Mythic Plus.
Yeah, and that's where I'll be kind of a separate. It's fun, right? Like there's certain fights, like you talk about, is it City of Echoes or Threads, the one where when you after you finish the double bosses with all the RP, you go up, you kill all those mobs, and then there's that big beetle at the top of the stairs before you go in. That's the worst as a disc priest. And on my shaman, it's like poison cleanse totem.
Yep, I don't
There's
care.
nothing to do here. Yeah, it's not even it feels like the easiest trash. And on my priest, I'm like, okay, I got to get rapture out before. I got to make sure everybody's atoned.
Yep.
I got to have this and this and that, right? Okay, I know I'm excited. I'll go. Okay, give me a second. Um, but so it's interesting. And then same thing with Siege of Borealis, where it's like on my priest, I could dispel one, I could do massive spell if they're together. But you find a way. You got your pain subs and your sacks, and we play the characters and we know all of our abilities and we know the people we're playing with. By the time you get to some of these places, you kind of understand who are your more sophisticated players and who aren't. We have to do that. You and I are players that you figure that out by the time you get to the end, and okay, this tank is capable. I'm not going to dispel it on him. He's just going to eat the full dot. I'm not going to worry about it. I'll dispel it off me. That's super easy. Or if it goes on somebody I know who's super squishy, I dispel them. If it's on me, I hit my desperate prayer. I'll hit my fade. I'll hit my if I'm on my shaman, I'll do the totem that gives me a big shield. Um, you know, there's answers. There's a sack on a pally, or you just bubble or whatever. So we'll figure it out. But in some, at the lower levels, people that are still learning their classes, they don't play a lot. They only play 4 hours a week. That's tough. That's rough, and it's not really fair to them. You want those players to keep playing so that we have a healthy player base. And if you're not considering some of that stuff, that player base will just erode, and they'll go play something else like Fortnite or something that's way easier, where they're not getting yelled at as a healer or a tank because they didn't do something right, and everybody's mad because they're bitter because they flipped 50 keys in only time like 5 of them or whatever. We want to avoid that. And so yeah, we haven't talked about this even outside the podcast, but player base and healthy player base and getting new players is important, and Mythic Plus is one of the places to do that. And they need to find a way to kind of calibrate the levels so that players can learn along the way and not have these huge stepping stones to get to the next level, because it'll just erode at the player base. People will stop playing.